What is up, everybody? It is Tuesday, August 3rd. Very exciting. I'm sorry for the very late video today. Having a lot of discussions around DAOs this morning with some very smart people. I think the next wave that we see after like just straight NFTs, if you want my opinion here, is that we see a huge influx into DAOs. This is my thinking after we watch like A16Z and 3AC, both venture capital funds moving money into DAOs as like overall exposure, and less of a, hey, how do we get singular assets? How do we just put money into a fund essentially and get exposure to the overall market, either in a certain sector for a certain type of NFT, for a certain type of asset. I really do see that being the second wave that we're going to see. So if you're not in a DAO, I highly suggest that you take the time right now to do your research, understand what they are, how they work, find ones that are open. I know that Fingerprints DAO is currently looking for new members. It's an application process, of course. It's 12.5 ETH to get in. I think the Meebits DAO at one point was still open to having people join in if they were referred. I think that was only 1 ETH plus a Meebit. So, I mean, look for opportunities. Look for areas that you think are worth being in, because there's lots of DAOs popping up every day. But make sure the thesis behind what that DAO is doing is worth getting into. That is just my 2 cents, or my 2 way. With that said, let's jump into the show today. We're just going to cover the market real quick. And I know this is coming out late. We'll just look at what's happening and where I think money's going to be moving and where it has been moving. Real quick before that, though, Spotty Wi-Fi, who is dropping an album, I'm doing a Twitter Spaces with him tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be talking about the music, how he's doing a very unique drop, who he worked with to make this drop happen, which I think is Manifold and West Coast NFT, two of the most respected people in the game. And I think it's just going to be a good insight. We don't have a lot of musicians that are putting out stuff in this kind of fashion, and somebody who's embodied their personality as a CryptoPunk like Spotty has. So I'm really excited to have this conversation. Hope to see you guys there. If you have questions, leave them below in the video or on Twitter, and I'll get to them. On top of that, I'm also doing a giveaway for Regens. It's a project that I've gotten involved with, working with them on the AI and collaboration side. I'm really passionate about GANs, which are a type of artificial intelligence model. GANs are called generational adversarial networks. And essentially what they do is, through learning, they understand either how to restylize an image or how to create shapes and drawings based off of training data. So I think this is a project that's kind of set up to be almost like the AI of art blocks. Obviously the first series that they're doing here is tasteful to some people, not tasteful to others. But I think once we start bringing in artists that are going to draw and do these very interesting collaborations, photographers potentially in the future, this is a project where having a couple of these could be very, worth your time and worth your money, in my opinion. So, noted, I am involved with the project. I'm very bullish on it. I am bought into it. And I'm just excited. Like, you don't have to go buy. I'm not going to tell you like, hey, go buy, like, because I'm bullish. But if it's something that you're interested and want to learn more about, let me know. I'm happy to explain more in depth. I should do some videos about it or some spaces about it. On top of that, jumping into what other people are buying, Twin Flames number 45 and 67 selling. Gary V back at it again. Just buying what I consider like the highest quality, most quality photo project that's out there right now. Both of these being picked up, I think, for 40 ETH each. So it's exciting to see Gary and AJ jump into these. Excited for them. I immediately delisted my Twin Flames the second they did this. I think we'll see the floor push towards 100 over the next few days, if you want my opinion, just based on announcements that are coming there. Gary Vee also sharing some insight into something I'm very passionate about in the space, which is gaming. I couldn't agree more with Gary, and Gary couldn't agree more with Alex, saying that the top 2 to 5% of projects will be iconic in the NFT gaming / gamification space. I do think that NFT games such as like YGG and Axes, need to reward on, I think, value and reward on, I guess, like building and creativity and not just farming, because at that point it becomes a race to the bottom. If you're just going to grind and farm, we're going to see a lot of these game economies collapse, just because it becomes almost, it becomes pretty risky in my sense, from where, like, is it going to be like sustainable business model? And I just don't see it if it's only like, hey, just grind and you make money from clicking these buttons. Then it's just like, okay, you can, pay less doing here, you make a little less here, but it's easier, and it's a race to the bottom. So I'm hoping that games like Axes and YGG and all these future games find a way to reward people who are, creating value within those ecosystems, and not just being like farmers, because I don't see it sustaining too long. But I am bullish in the space. Nick NFT kind of wrapping up this entire video in one tweet, which is World of Women are up insane amount. Rumble Kongs are up an insane amount. Squiggly WTF is up a crazy amount. Something that I considered buying, but unfortunately just could not afford it, like the 10E floor it was at. Mooncats on a huge rise. Watching the Mooncat I bought for 0.75, the first NFT I ever bought, go from 0.75 up to like 1.5, then down to 0.2, and now we're back to 0.7. What a ride. Very excited for Mooncats. The Doge Pound NFT up to 67%, up to a 1.135 floor. Polymorphs up 37% to 0.1 floor. And Punk's Comic still on its rise from the burn-in stake period enacting, up at a 1.76 floor. This is tweeted out this morning, a couple hours ago. We'll take a look at the rest of the market. Also, if you don't know, a lot of people are going to probably ask, and they did ask yesterday, you can put OpenSea into dark mode. If you didn't know that, you can go up to settings, appearance, and then change it into dark mode, save your eyes some of that strain. I hope everybody is doing that. If you're using light mode, let me know why. I'd love to know why. The top NFTs still CryptoPunks, Art Blocks, and Bored Ape Yacht Club. I think these three are just going to hold the top position by volume and by, I think, like value perspective from the community. So having one of each of these would be kind of like my holy trinity. Like, it's like the Trinity. Like, you have a CryptoPunk, you have a Ringer, and you have a Bored Ape Yacht Club. Like, having a curated piece that's like iconic isn't like just one of the cheaper ones. I think is like a bragging right. So if you have a Squiggly, a Punk, and a Bored Ape Yacht Club, you're sitting okay. We're also seeing a lot of money still going into the Playground. Over the last 24 hours, some of the more iconic and in the spotlight projects are seeing a pullback in volume. The prices haven't pulled back, but we are seeing that volume come back. Stoner Cats hasn't done anything. Vogu hasn't done much. They're still around mint price. Meebits hasn't done much over the last 24 hours. We did see a huge influx into that project and a lot of people buying yesterday and the day before. Tom Sachs Rocket Factory floor rising a little bit, but we are seeing the amount of people buying pull back, just because I do think it's becoming hard to make a lot of these pieces fit as a single rocket. So will be interesting to see there. This is that's one of the projects I look back and wish I had got into. It's just so high quality. VeeFriends still seeing in the mid 5s, 5.79 there. Let's see, what else do we have? Curio Cards being one of the projects that Beanie tweeted about last night, got a ton of attention. Gary Vee tweeting about. So seeing a lot of focus go there. Cool Cats pulling back to 0.7 on the floor, so a little bit of weakness there. Bored Ape Kennel Club still sitting around 1.44. I think we see that floor continue to drop over the next couple weeks until we see some sort of announcement. Official Mooncats acclimated, seen at 0.66. The official Mooncats just wrapped non-acclimated, also seen around 0.6 right now. Both those projects being kind of like the sleeper ones that we saw money go into. So I think good buys, and it might be too late, but like the good buys a couple days ago were like Mooncats, Curio Cards, obviously picking up a World of Women NFT, and I think Meebits as well. Those projects being kind of overlooked and where the attention wasn't. Right now, it looks like attention is now on Curio Cards, now on Mooncats, now on Twin Flames, now on Punk's Comic. Where is it not right now? I'm curious. If you think there's still a project that is iconic, is historic, and not being bought up, what is that project? I think Meebit's still in this kind of like middle zone of, okay, the prices aren't down in the low ones anymore, but at the same time we haven't seen this huge ramp up in demand spike where prices fly. So what does that leave us with is kind of the question. So Twin Flames floor at 60 ETH. We'll likely see another sale happen there today, and I think that floor just keeps going higher. All of these sales are going into hands of people who will never sell, and they're going into museum holders, to gallery holders. So if this project continues to go at the rate it's at, by Friday, I'm expecting a 100 ETH floor. I'm not going to sell mine for under 100. That's what I've decided. Good luck. You have to pry it out of my cold dead hands to get it from me for less than 100. Punk's Comics still sitting at 1.74. Wicked Craniums rising up a little bit to 0.25. The Hearst still sitting at 3.8. So still seeing about a 3.5x on your money after fees there. The other one worth noting, Treeverse. I feel stupid. I should have bought this I had the opportunity to buy at 1.15. Treeverse now sitting at a 0.4 floor, that being Lupify's project with a metaverse. Excited to see what happens there. They are seeing kind of just, they've only been out like 24 hours, so there isn't much to change there as far as volume price. With that said, we will quickly look through the rest of what's happening in the market a little bit more detailed. Art Blocks curated. So Art Blocks curated, seeing we have that huge spike up. We're still starting to kind of chill out a little bit, but the prices have not come down the same way. We're still seeing huge purchases happen. A lot of the projects that you could pick up for 0.2 to 0.4 are now 1.5 ETH. So those have not come down anymore. If you have something, hold on to it. Like my Fuzzy Chromie Squiggle, which I bought for 1 ETH, now worth 10 ETH. We're only seeing those go up. So Chromie Squiggle still being something that people are buying into quite hard. Chromie Squiggle normal ones even going for 5 to 6 ETH. I'll pull that up real quick. We'll look at the Chromie Squiggle floor. So Chromie Squiggles, low to high. By now, we're looking at, so Chromie Squiggles, if you're curious, are now at a 3.9 floor. Still don't think that's a horrible buy. I think we see the floor go to 10 ETH. I might pick up another. We'll see. There's only so much ETH in so many projects. Looking at Bored Ape Yacht Club, still around that 80 ETH floor. The pricing, however, not dying down. We're seeing more and more people buy into more expensive apes. We did see what was interesting, a very interesting purchase here. I noticed this morning for 17 ETH, this ape going on sale. We'll let that load for a second here. So we did see a work vest ape go for sale, 17.5 ETH. A very interesting one for me to watch happen, just because I do own a work vest ape. But I think prices are now starting to go towards and replace the old Punks floor. I could see this running up into the teens on the floor side very quickly. The supply side on Bored Ape Yacht Club is, and I've done this analysis before. If we look at the floor specifically, we have so we have 8.55 on the floor. It's only probably, let's see here, that's 9, 12, 15. It's only about like 40 purchases until 10. 40 to 50 purchases until we get to 10, or we're just under 10. And once we break through this, 9.999, 10, 10, 10, once we break through that wall there, or once this starts to move up and people delist and delist high and then relist higher, let me see what's on the upside of that. We'll likely start to see this move quickly into the teens. I mean, it does look like it's several thousand ETH worth of purchases that need to happen, probably like 2,000 ETH worth. But we could very easily see somebody come through and do the same thing that they did with Punks and say, hey, let's get our Bored Ape Yacht Club exposure. It's a brand that's going to stick around, and they come in and just buy a crap ton of apes. So it was the robotic, the cyborg work vest with the Athens kind of I forget what they call it, the laurel wreath on the head. So we did see that happen. A huge sale. Team Orange obviously getting a win there. Seen a lot of people flip around their apes and get into other projects. So the money is still flowing into apes. I'm curious where we land with, obviously it takes just one little announcement from Bored Ape Yacht Club to send all the attention directly back there. So some people are obviously using this opportunity from selling Punks to get into another ape or two. Meebits currently still around floor prices. It looks like a lot of people are taking that advice and accumulating around floor and just off of floor. I don't think that's a bad idea. I still think picking up, oh my God, stole it. Another hoodie going for 9 ETH here. Great pickup, absolutely great pickup. Really cool looking hoodie there. I have my hoodie listed just to get liquid for other projects, but I do think hoodies, pigs, and then anything that has a unique piece of clothing are going to be ones worth picking up. I have talked a little bit about what it looks like if Meebits supply isn't capped at 20,000. If they do another 100,000 of these, if they do their own clothing store, if they're clothing brands. That's why I picked up mefits.eth and why I picked up mefits.io. I do think that there's going to be companies and the ability to create entire economies around what is happening with Meebits. I've told some people in private what I think Larva Labs is trying to build as an entire company, and hopefully that gives you guys some insight into how I'm thinking and kind of playing my bets with Larva Labs. I don't think they're playing small games. I don't think they're just dropping these projects and saying, great, like we made 80,000 ETH doing Meebits. Thank you for your money. Goodbye. I'm thinking that they will be valued as one of the top 5 companies in the world, and they will be used for so many things. And Meebits will essentially be what they're using to take their company forward in the craziest way. So I'm excited for when we see Kith and Supreme clothing drops for Meebits. I'm excited for when we see, these clothing brands such as Nike come out with shoes for Meebits. That's what gets me excited, and I do think that is coming. Tom Sachs Rocket Factory, the floor all the way up to 2 ETH now. As I've said before, this project, after doing more analysis, makes me upset that I didn't do more on it on the front run. And I'm sorry that my brother was unable to get into it because he had spent so much time researching it and telling me how bullish he was on it. I think Tom Sachs is just one of the great artists and creatives of our time. He's done so much, and you know what? I've thought about picking something up at the floor, But it is one of those things where if I want to create a rocket, there are some ones at the floor here where I can pick up 2 or 3 pieces, make one, and kind of go from there. But it does look like people have what they need to put theirs together, and it's not cheap. It's going to be 6 to probably 15 ETH to put a rocket together, depending on what you want. I was thinking about doing a Budweiser one. However, the nose cones for Budweiser being pretty much the only thing within grasping distance for me. And I think the body for Budweiser was much, much more expensive. So, so for Budweiser, probably going to cost me about 10 ETH to put that rocket together. So we'll see. It's a project I've thought about a lot, and I think will be iconic for its own reasons. The VeeFriends, importantly here, we saw over the weekend a lot of gift codes and spectaculars go for sale. 16 hours ago, seen a lot of to now seen a lot of cores go, and then one spectacular go for sale. So things have changed a little bit in the last 24 hours. This Kingfisher one that I had my eye on to pick up for family member. So unfortunately that went. I am very bullish VeeFriends. I think the floor will rise or double when the next announcement comes out regarding the conference and regarding any of the other things that they are working on. And I don't think it's stuff that like you have to be in the know to know. Like I think it's just, you got to watch what Gary puts out, what the Discord's talking about. They do drop hints quite a bit, so keep your eye on that. I think we see, if you're buying in from Punk Money or selling an ape, not a horrible time to buy. I think it is a very exciting project and will be iconic in the long term. The women seeing a huge run up here. The project definitely seems to have solidified itself as like the female project that is doing great with profile photos, and I think a lot of people are picking these up for either family members, their moms, for their sisters, for themselves. I think it's an awesome project, just based on how people are interacting with it, and totally based on the community interactions. Curo cards being one of the projects I've mentioned, that's just the issue here is you just buy it because it's old, and it's like just having an old computer. People going to value just an NFT because it's old and historic and one of the first. I think people are saying this is like the first Ethereum art project, so it's not technically it's not a full NFT by definition, not 721. You might have to correct me on that, but there are people that know way more about this than I do, and there are a lot of good rarity charts and analysis. There's a bunch of stuff in my Discord that people are talking about. I've had them talking about it all morning. I'm one of those people that I think this continues to rise. I'm looking at a lot of things I looked at last night at like 2 a.m. For like 0.3 and 0.4, and are now like 1.5 and like 3 ETH. Insane. So the floor has definitely taken off. Probably too late to get in there. These are just kind of antiques at this point. So if there is something you see there worth buying potentially, if you think that just being old and being historic is going to have value, but looking at like Mooncats and looking at CryptoPunks, that kind of case does seem to hold. With the Cool Cats, we are seeing a little bit of a pullback, but it does look like people are picking up into the project where there might be mispricing. So we are seeing like the orange background and the pink background stuff that usually goes for more just because of its I think it's called like class. I don't remember what it's called, but the category it's in, usually going for a higher. So the wild tier is getting picked up for lower and lower prices. I think this just comes from the fact that people are scared to see that floor come up a little bit and now start to pull back. They think, hey, Cool Cat's time isn't right now. I need to be liquid for other projects. So if there is a project you believe in, you start to see that floor pull back, it might not be a horrible thing to buy in. because a lot of people are just getting liquid for all these other opportunities. Money is not standing still for 95% of the people. They're trying to get in one, sell it, get into another one. And people like DC Investor and a lot of these other very disciplined investors who just buy something and they hold it, and it's like, hey, this is a 5 to 30-year play or a lifetime play. We don't see as much of that. So understand money is always moving. So if a project starts to pull back, people are getting out of it because they don't think that project within the next 7 days is going to see a spike, and they're going to another project that they think they can double their money in, then come back in. So it's very cyclical right now. There are waves and cycles to this. Another project that I just like to mention, Pegs by Matt Fury, just absolutely crushing it right now. 48th floor. You could have picked these up for, between 5 to 9 a couple, 2 weeks ago, then in the teens last week, and now we're seeing, a 48th floor. So these are being valued at some of the highest levels we've ever seen. Same thing with Twin Flames. The current floor price sitting at 60. We can see the last 2 sales coming in for Gary V and AJV, and then one other one at 50 just 13 hours ago. So we're sitting at that 60 ETH floor. And so it'll go 60, 64, 69. Then we jump up to a 90 ETH floor. Then we jump up to a 95 ETH floor. Then it's 111, and then we're to 120. So you can see a lot of people are moving things back onto market. Like last night, I think mine was number 5. So there was only 4 sales until mine. People filling in that gap between 90 and 120 with 2 pieces. So people are managing their assets here quite actively, and they're looking for whatever announcements come out this week and whatever things Justin talks about to happen and send this higher. I will note that you need to understand when you're buying a Twin Flame or looking at Twin Flame, understand there's 2 projects. There's the blues, there's only 10 of them, and then there's the normal 100 Twin Flames. People are looking to pair their blues with the matching original colored image. That can only be done for 10 of those images. I have one of the ones that can be paired with its blue, so I'm asking a premium for mine. There are some other ones out there. I believe I don't see any other ones that are for sale right now. But yeah, that pairing becoming a thing. And there's only, as far as it goes for being listed on the market, there are 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 22 on the market. There's only 22 that can be purchased on the market out of the 100. So the supply is certainly low. We could easily see this go into the hundreds. We're only realistically, we're only about 7 to 10 sales away from the prices getting into the high 100,000s. It might even be a smart idea not to sell at 120. I'm slowly talking myself out of selling. So I'll think about that after the show, obviously. Punk's comic still kind of sitting where it's at, volume dying down a little bit. And I think right now, if you have comics and you're trying to figure out what your play is, it's either burn or stake. The time to sell a low mint for 2x and then move that into comics has passed. So I've unfortunately missed that. My kind of investment theory there being proven wrong. And then if you're trying to get into this project, it is going to cost you a lot. The prices are just insane right now. I don't think they're wrong. I think 1 to 2 ETH makes sense to me, but I do think that seeing these prices probably turns away a lot of people who are like, hey, I want to have 20 comics and I want to have huge exposure to this because I think it becomes like a Marvel, and it's just hard at this point to see a normal investor like you or me, unless you are an institution, come in and buy that. I guess Mooncats Rescue, the unofficial Wrapped, also seeing their floors rise. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Mooncats as a whole, both projects, go towards 1 ETH over the next few days. Again, another historic project. Punk's floor finally breaking through the 33 ETH point. We're sitting at 33.25 on the floor. Just looking at the floor real quick, I'm trying to see how high would I have to go to find something I'd want to buy. Yeah, I would consider like this one at 35. I consider maybe this one at 40 potentially. It's crazy. I think I'd have to go pretty high here. I'd have to be like in the 50s to find something like I saw and absolutely loved. Wow. Yeah. So punks have just been picked through. It's really hard to find something that is insanely high quality. Yeah, you really have to go through these. The floor and punks as a whole have been bought up. There are a lot of people sitting on big bags. They've bought, listed higher. I'm curious where my grail is to buy a smile. That would make me like the happiest person ever. So currently for sale, I can get one in the 40s, but to get one that I really like and looks cool, is going to cost me likely about, it's going to be close to 100. It's going to be expensive. And the ones that I really like, that I was considering buying are now no longer on market. Really painful to see that happen. But we will persist and keep kind of chugging along and try to figure out how to make our CryptoPunk purchase happen. As far as punk sales over the last 24 hours, we're still seeing high volume, still seeing tens of millions of dollars roll across the screen every 24 hours. We saw a top hat, a beanie for 317 ETH. We did see the first, I think it was it's probably one of the top first 5 that we've seen, human sales at a 7-figure USD number. Saw a beanie go for 400 ETH, which at the time was like 1 million and some change. So that was a pretty iconic and historic sale there. I remember whoever sold this was like, hey, I'm glad to have the million, but I don't think me selling this will age well in the long term. I think I'll look back and regret it. We'll see. It's one of those projects where having $1 million right now to put into other projects could make you more. But do you want to have that like clout of saying, yeah, I have a beanie, CryptoPunk. So, the hoodie floor now edging its way closer and closer to 200. I think we saw this one at 211, and I think the floor is sitting at like 190 right now. Again, you could have purchased these for 60 ETH, 4 days ago. Just insane to see the run up that we've seen on CryptoPunks. As an overall right now, the market for crypto is down about 4%. Bitcoin dipping under 40,000 again, down 3%. Ethereum bouncing down to 2,500 this morning, down 5%. So we've seen huge run-ups on a lot of this, and we're in this like dead man zone for Bitcoin and Ethereum, where it's got to decide if it's going to run up or if it's going to run down. Support is 10 to 20% away in each direction. So we will see what happens here. Ethereum, obviously, with some announcements this week. Keep an eye on that. I wouldn't take your eye off the chart. I would just keep an eye on the chart, understand what's happening, that we could see price movements. I am deleveraged in all cases. I'm sitting a little bit unstable right now. I have taken some profits off the table. And just keep an eye on what's going on. That's my suggestion. Like, do your research, have a plan for up and down and sideways. Like, you can never do too much research. So with that said, again, I think NFT market is going to get hotter and hotter. We're not, in a bear market, obviously. There are projects that are being overlooked that are going to, double to 10x over the next, couple weeks. There are projects that are going to come out with announcements that are going to completely change the way their markets look. So just understand, do your research, look into things. I say it every time. And what we'll do over the next couple of days is start to try to track some of these projects that we are kind of expecting or saying, hey, these are ones that we buy into, and see how they play out. Because it's really easy to say, like, hey, buy Amoebit. We'll try to track and say, hey, like if we had bought as a collective or as a group, on Monday we'd be up X%. So maybe we'll try to do something like that. As always, guys, if you haven't, like and subscribe. Join the Discord if you haven't. A lot of cool things happening there. I'll be hopefully launching one of my projects in the coming weeks here, which is exciting. And as always, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm always ready to help. But that is it for today's show. I'm sorry for it being late. We're going to try really hard not to have these morning meetings that last 3 hours and take up all my time. But we are very actively trying to build out some very cool stuff. And hopefully those announcements are worth that time commitment. So that is all for today's video, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one and stay positive.